Part 94. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 931. Zhang Chen and the others returned to Hangzhou. When Lu Ligan and Lao Tan heard that Zhang Chen had returned from buying paintings, they all came to Zhang Chen's office to take a look. Lao Tan looked at the pile of things and said, "I don't understand this kind of painting, but it seems to me that the paintings are all messy, the table is not even, and the house is crooked. Are they not as good as our effect paintings?" Lu Ligan smiled and said, "Old Tan, you understand now. They just want to paint in a messy way. If they don't paint in a messy way, they are not painters." Lao Tan shook his head and said, "No matter what, let alone asking me to take 1.8 million yuan, even if it is 1,800 yuan, I will not buy these things." Zhang Chen smiled and said, "Brother, you don't know, with this batch of things, my art museum will have its foundation." Lao Tan said, "I don't understand painting, but since it's 1.8 million, you can't put it in that house. The thieves will be worried about you, just a hammer." Lao Tan's words reminded Zhang Chen that indeed, if these paintings were placed in the glass house, it would be tempting others to smash the glass. Old Tan is right. Even if you send security guards 24 hours a day, there won't be enough for one person. Lu Ligan said, "Since this is going to be turned into an art museum, the place still needs to be renovated. First, the glass needs to be replaced. It's thicker and stronger. Secondly, don't hang your particularly good treasure there every day. Just hold a treasure exhibition once a year. If you hang it there every day, it won't be unusual." Zhang Chen thought about what they said made sense. At least in terms of safety, the building itself needed to be reinforced, with security guards on duty 24 hours a day, and a monitoring system also needed to be installed. In addition, Zhang Chen remembered, change He Hungmei's original room into a moisture-proof and constant temperature safe, just like the one in Habishan upstairs in Haikan Wanghai Mall. Thinking about it this way, Zhang Chen felt that this art museum was really not as simple as he had imagined. He thought that just putting 2 people in would solve the problem. What they need to do right now is to add frames to these works if they don't have frames. Even if they originally have frames, they don't have outer borders. They have to match them. Also, these paintings, after all, it is a long time ago. Some of them were limited by the conditions at that time and the materials used, and some of them were preserved later. Fortunately, the deceased Mr. Chiu was a painter himself. During the preservation process, he used varnish to polish these paintings. The bright colors of the paintings are still retained, but some of them are affected by his living conditions. There are still some cracks due to the restrictions. These need to be cleaned on the surface and repaired and cured with glue. "I can do this, boss, and I know how to do it. It just takes time. I'll start doing it tomorrow," Yao Fen said to Zhang Chen, and Zhang Chen agreed. "Hugo!" Lu Ligan screamed when he saw the sculpture of Xiang Bingming that the idiot brought to Zhang Chen's office. Seeing the leopard again, Lu Ligan picked it up curiously. He saw the name on the base. The handwriting was very sloppy and could not be read clearly. He asked Zhang Chen who it belonged to, and Zhang Chen told him it was Li Jinfa. "Holy shit! Can Li Jinfa also make sculptures? He's also a versatile artist," Lu Ligan shouted. Zhang Chen asked him, "Who is Li Jinfa?" "Do you know Suze Haimo?" Lu Ligan asked Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen said he knew. This Li Jinfa was a poet as famous as Suze Haimo back then. But now people only know about Suze Haimo and very few know about Li Jinfa. While Lu Ligan was talking, he was still staring at the leopard sculpture. After seeing it, he laughed and said, "Zhang Chen, do I know who the sculpture is?" "Who?" "Rilke." Lu Ligan said, "Do you know Rilke?" Rilke served as Rodin's secretary and wrote a book on Rodin. Zhang Chen felt that this was a bit reliable. Sculptors who had been to France all admired Rodin, but, how are you sure this is Rilke? Lou Ligon smiled and said, Rilke wrote a poem called Leopard. In the Paris Zoo, its eyes were so tired by the endless iron bars that it could not accept anything. It seems that there are only 1,000 iron railings / there is no universe behind the 1,000 iron railings / the strong steps are taking soft steps / the steps are rotating in this extremely small circle. Lou Ligon looked at Zhang Chen and continued to memorize. As if the dance of power revolved around a center / in which a great will dazzled / only sometimes the eyelids lifted silently / so that an image dipped / through the tense silence of the limb / disappeared in the heart. Zhang Chen listened to Lou Ligon reciting this poem, and when he looked at the sculpture, he felt that it was right. This sculpture must be Rilke, which is also consistent with Li Jianfa's identity as both a poet and a sculptor. Zhang Chen and Yao Fen said, your next work is to repair the paintings and varnish them here before the museum is renovated. Also, I will ask Brother Tan to send a carpenter comes over and you guide him to match the paintings here and the inside and outside frames. In addition, if you have time, go to Hangzhou Library and Zhejiang Academy of Fine Arts. Most of the authors of these paintings are related to the National Art School. The National Art School's information should be the most complete in Zhejiang and the United States. Find out the basic information about each artist, and then look for the background of these paintings. Information, it would be interesting if each of our paintings could be as specific as the sculpture Mr. Liu mentioned earlier. This will also be a capital for you to communicate with people in the art museum in the future. Yao Fen said yes, and Zhang Chen pointed to the conference table in the office and told her that the cleaning and restoration would be done here. If I have time, I can help. In addition, I can enjoy it every day. Yao Fen said yes. Zhang Chen said to Lao Tan again, brother, next to the art museum, I want to change the room where He Hung Mei used to live into a safe. Also, how to strengthen the house? Help me find someone and let them get out first. It is best to ask people with experience in museum construction to come up with the plan. Old Tan agreed. By the way, the people who built the glass house outside the original old house on the first floor of splendid Jiangnan are what they do. I'll ask them to come up with a plan. Zhang Chen smiled and said, yes, how could I forget them? The framing, repairing, and glazing of the paintings bought from Shanghai started immediately. Not only Zhang Chen, but also Ji Ling and the designers from the design center came over to help every day. They said that this was a good opportunity for exchange. Change your brain. These people used to know how to draw themselves. Although they did not learn oil painting, they knew a thing or two. As soon as Yao Fen gave him some guidance, they immediately knew what to do. The second-hand guy was helping the carpenter fix the frame. The second-hand guy said, me, I can do this job. The main thing is the diagonals. My marble and ceramic tiles are perfectly aligned diagonally, but I can't do this wood and plaster. Zhang Chen said, yes, I forgot about your old profession. The paintings were framed, repaired, and wrapped in newspapers. They were placed at the foot of Zhang Chen's office, occupying a large area of the boss's space. Zhang Chen looked at them with joy in his heart. I studied painting when I was a child, and the names of these people are very familiar to me. I can only be lucky at most. I have seen their paintings from art magazine, etc. I didn't expect that I actually own them today. Yao Fen's information collection work also went smoothly. Zhang Chen was shocked when he saw Li Jianfa's information. This person's experience was legendary, and he had never heard of it before. Lou Ligon is right. This Li Jianfa is Li Jianfa, a poet as famous as Suze Haimo during the Republic of China. But he is not only a poet. In terms of academics, he is higher than Suze Haimo, a half-hearted Cambridge student. A big chunk. Li Jianfa arrived in Marseille, France, on the same boat as Lin Fengmian, Li Lisan, Su Tili, and W. Ruofei. In France, he studied at the École Impériale des Beaux-Arts, the highest art school in France, and was an alumnus of Su Biong. In France, 2 sculptures have been selected for the Paris Spring Art Exhibition. This is the first time that a Chinese work has been selected for the Paris Art Exhibition. After returning from France, Li Jianfa served as a professor in the sculpture department of the National Art College. Later, he accepted Sun Kei's invitation and left the National Art College to serve as the dean of the Guangzhou Academy of Fine Arts in Guangzhou. Zhang Chen knew why Li Jianfa almost disappeared from the mainland and was rarely mentioned. Suze Haimo was far less famous than Suze Haimo. Suze Haimo died in 1949, and Li Jianfa, because he later served as the national government's ambassador to Iran. Ambassador, 1949 years ago, he retired from politics and went to the United States. When Yao Fen went to Zhejiang and the United States, he not only found a lot of information about the National Art College, but also attracted several students from the old National Art College who were still alive. They are now professors in Zhejiang and the United States. They heard that Zhang Chen had such a thing here. When the paintings were being approved, everyone came over specially to see them. They suggested that after Zhang Chen's art museum is completed, they can hold a joint exhibition with art museums in Zhejiang and the United States. The theme is to commemorate the National Academy of Art. Mr. Zhang, your collection here is substantial enough. Many of them are impressed in our memory. But it's really gratifying that all the works that I thought I would never see in this life are here with you. Zhang Chen was very interested in their suggestions and agreed immediately. These professors were very moved when they learned that Zhang Chen was interested in collecting domestic oil paintings. They said, "It is a pity that there are too few entrepreneurs like you in China, and no one is interested in oil paintings at all." They feel that our domestic oil paintings started late and are greatly affected. It is not necessarily true that they lag behind foreign countries. Chu Taichun and Zhao Waoqi are now world famous, but haven't they laid the foundation for domestic work? Back then, they were not considered the best in the art college. A professor said. The professor also introduced to Zhang Chen whose works, and told Zhang Chen that if you are interested, you can collect them, otherwise they will be taken away by those Hong Kong and Taiwanese people. It is also a pity that most of the good works of our old principal Lin Fengmian were taken away by a man named Zhang Vuqian from Hong Kong. It is also a pity. They also personally wrote a recommendation letter to Zhang Chen. In the letter, they said that what Zhang Chen was doing now was of great merit and they hoped that old friends and classmates would support him. Zhang Chen thanked them again and asked Yao Fen to take these letters and set off immediately. Zhang Chen and Yao Fen said, "I thought it was just collection. After listening to these old people's words, I think what we are doing now is rescue collect, otherwise really, these good things will go overseas." Thank you for the tip from the third one from top to bottom, 131, on the shore. Thank you to Humor Tribe, Guilty Orchid Finger, Li Rujin, and Kandera for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 932. Zhang Chen named his art gallery Riverside Oil Painting Gallery. If it's not on the Gentian River or the Meisi River, then it should be called Hepan. Zhang Chen himself liked this name very much, but Lu Ligan felt that this name too stingy, too ordinary. Zhang Chen smiled and asked, "What is it called, Times Art Museum or Dakian Art Museum?" "Dakian Art Museum is good, Dakian World is great," Lu Ligan shouted. Zhang Chen laughed, "What if people mistakenly think it is Zhang Dakian's Art Museum?" Lu Li stared blankly. Zhang Chen decided to use the Riverside Oil Painting Museum. He originally wanted to write the name of the museum himself, but a professor from Zhejiang American Academy of Arts and a student of the old National Art College said that he should ask a famous person to write the name of the museum, so that only this library of yours has appeal. Zhang Chen said, "I don't know any famous people, teacher, either you can write it for me. In this industry, you are more famous than me." The professor smiled and said, "How dare I write?" Look at the collections of my classmates in your collection. I don't even dare to write. In order to show my support for you in this matter, I will give you 2 pieces of my own collection from the art museum. I will write you another letter to introduce my old senior. As for whether he is willing to name you, that is up to you, Mr. Zhang. Zhang Chen quickly expressed his gratitude to the professor and asked him, who is this old senior? Wu Guanzhong, is Wu Guanzhong important enough? The professor asked. Zhang Chen was taken aback and shouted, of course teacher Wu is worthy enough, but how could he give me a title for this small restaurant? The professor smiled and said, not necessarily. If you are very famous, he may not give you questions. As long as it suits him, he doesn't care how famous you are. The professor immediately wrote a letter to Mr. Wu. Zhang Chen took the letter and went to Beijing the next day. He thought, no matter whether Mr. Wu was willing to name him or not, with this letter, he could at least take this opportunity to visit Mr. Wu. It is also good to listen to his teachings in person. Zhang Chen went to the Central Academy of Arts and Crafts according to the address given to him by the professor. He found Mr. Wu's home and knocked on the door. The person who opened the door happened to be Mr. Wu Guanzhong. Mr. Wu had white hair and was wearing a short-sleeved white shirt. Chen quickly bowed and said, hello, Teacher Wu. Mr. Wu looked at him and asked, which newspaper are you a reporter for? I haven't been interviewed by reporters recently, and I got angry when I said what you all wrote in random words. Zhang Chen quickly said that he is not a reporter, but was introduced by your classmate. Zhang Chen took out the letter from Professor Zhejiang University of Science and Technology and handed it to Mr. Wu. Mr. Wu opened it and read it, then stuffed it into the mailbox at the entrance of the hospital and asked Zhang Chen, I just want to go out for a haircut, can you follow me, follow me? Zhang Chen said yes. Mr. Wu closed the courtyard door and walked forward with Zhang Chen. They walked for 5 or 6 minutes. In front of them was a forest. Several retired teachers were enjoying the shade in the shade. There were also people playing chess. Mr. Wu was playing chess with them. He said hello, stood beside the chess player and watched for a while, and then walked inside. After walking for more than 10 meters, Zhang Chen saw an open-air barber stall with the word barber hanging on a tree. Next to the tree was a wash basin stand with a wash basin on the stand and a bucket next to it. There is a wooden chair next to the water and wash basin shelf, and next to it is a recliner. On the recliner, a barber in his 60s is lying there smoking. Seeing Mr. Wu, the barber quickly stood up. Zhang Chen was confused and thought, Mr. Wu was talking about getting a haircut here, right? You must know that Mr. Wu at that time was not only a famous painter and professor, but also a recipient of the highest French government medal and a member of the Standing Committee of the National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. At auction, a painting could fetch 200,000 to 300,000 Hong Kong dollars. Unexpectedly, Mr. Wu called for a haircut, then walked to the wooden chair and sat down. The barber picked up an apron, shook it and put it around Mr. Wu. Mr. Wu looked at Zhang Chen who was stunned there, nodded to a stool next to him, and told Zhang Chen to sit down and sit down if you have anything to say. Zhang Chen sat down. Why is your museum called the Riverside Oil Painting Museum and not the Art Museum? Mr. Wu seemed to have only glanced at it briefly, but he remembered all the contents of his classmate's letter. He asked Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen quickly said, I think the concept of art is too big. I don't have that big ambition. I just learn oil painting by myself and like oil painting. Now that I have the ability, I want to build an oil painting gallery and collect some of my favorite works. It is also a very personal restaurant. Mr. Wu nodded and said, what are your ideas? Zhang Chen said, isn't this just a coincidence? I just bought a batch of paintings by students and teachers from the National Art College. I thought, speaking of it, the real origin of Chinese oil paintings is from the National Art College. Because of the relationship, I want to build a special museum with the theme of the National Art College on the second floor. On the first floor, I collect some current oil paintings that I like. In this way, the upstairs and downstairs also reflect a kind of inheritance. You said you collected a batch of paintings from old art schools. Which ones did you collect? Mr. Wu asked. Zhang Chen opened his bag and took out a stack of photos. These were the batch of works he took specially. Zhang Chen showed the photos to Mr. Wu one by one. After seeing two, Mr. Wu and the barber said, "Master Wang, please wait a moment." The barber stopped. Mr. Wu took the stack of photos from Zhang Chen's hand and read them one by one. He seemed a little unconvinced. He said, "They were all painted very early. Where did you come from, of?" Zhang Chen said, "I still have two paintings by Teacher Wu." "Mine?" Mr. Wu asked. Zhang Chen nodded. He took out two more photos from his bag and handed them to Mr. Wu. When Mr. Wu saw them, he was surprised and shouted, "I thought these two paintings were gone long ago." He looked at Zhang Chen and asked, "Did you buy this from Mr. Chiu? Where is he now?" Zhang Chen knew that Mr. Chiu, whom Mr. Wu was talking about, should be the middle school art teacher who had passed away. Zhang Chen said that he had passed away, and I bought this from his wife and son. Tell me, Mr. Wu urged. Zhang Chen told Mr. Wu what he knew about Mr. Chiu and how he bought the painting. Mr. Wu said that Mr. Chiu was not a bad painter, but he did not dare to paint and buried himself. Buried? Zhang Chen asked doubtfully. The family background is not good. After being liberated, I have to behave and be honest. How about burying myself in the soil? Zhang Chen nodded and understood. Do you know why we call him Mr. Chiu? Mr. Wu asked. Zhang Chen shook his head. One is him and the other is Sanyu. Sanyu did not go to the National Art College. They were together when they were in France. Both of their families were rich. Mr. Chiu's family ran a weaving factory in Songjiang. At that time, our paintings were if he likes paintings, we exchange drinks with him, he invites us to a restaurant for drinks, and we give him paintings, Mr. Wu said with a smile. Zhang Chen said, I like this batch of works very much, although technically speaking, they may not be as skillful as your later works. Oh, why? There is a brute energy in these works, the fearless energy of young people. Yes, Mr. Wu said, you are right. What were we afraid of at that time? After shaving his head and trimming his face, Mr. Wu asked Zhang Chen, do you want to pay attention to me? Do you want to treat me? Zhang Chen quickly said thank you, my hair is not long yet. Mr. Wu took out 5 yuan from his pocket and handed it to Master Wang. Master Wang said, it was too much, 2 yuan is enough. Mr. Wu smiled and said, I don't have any change, but my head is worth 5 yuan. The two people then walked back to the door of the courtyard and knocked on the door. A little girl opened the door for them. Mr. Wu said, my granddaughter, call her uncle. The little girl called Zhang Chen uncle. Mr. Wu brought Zhang Chen to the studio and asked Zhang Chen, do you want me to inscribe the name of the museum for you? Zhang Chen quickly said, if Mr. Wu doesn't dislike my place being too inconspicuous. Mr. Wu suddenly shook his head, who said that? With that batch of works, no one dares to say that you are inconspicuous. After laying out the paper, finishing writing, and stamping his stamp, Mr. Wu stood there and asked, if I give you 2 paintings from the museum, do you want an oil painting or an ink painting? My ink paintings are now shot at very high prices, and oil paintings are not as good as ink paintings. Zhang Chen was startled, not expecting Mr. Wu to ask this question, and quickly said, I am very grateful to the teacher for giving me the inscription. I dare not ask for any more of Mr. Wu's paintings. If possible, I can buy it. Mr. Wu looked at Zhang Chen and said, I will give it to you if I say it will be given to you. I will not sell it to you. Zhang Chen said, if this is the case, I still want oil paintings. I like Teacher Wu's oil paintings and ink paintings very much. To be honest, I don't understand them very well. But ink is valuable. Zhang Chen said, I think that what I like has nothing to do with whether it is worth something. No matter how expensive it is, I will not sell it. No matter how cheap it is, I still like it. Mr. Wu smiled and nodded. He told Zhang Chen, let me tell you a story about love and money. There was a couple who were acquaintances. When they got married, I gave them a painting. The two of them couldn't live together. If it goes on, we will get divorced again, everything will be divided properly, and in the end, it is the painting I gave, both of us are fighting for it, and both want it. Later, it was said that it was a painting and a lawsuit was going to be filed. When I found out, I told them not to file a lawsuit. I would paint another one and give it to you. Guess what happened, haha. Later, at the auction at the meeting, this painting appeared. Zhang Chen blushed and said quickly, Teacher Wu, this kind of thing will never happen here. Mr. Wu smiled and said, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about today's society. This money has made people don't know who to trust and who not to trust. It has destroyed the trust relationship between people. In this way, very bad. Zhang Chen nodded. Mr. Wu took out 4 oil paintings and asked Zhang Chen to choose from them. Zhang Chen chose 2, both depicting rural scenes in the north. Zhang Chen and Mr. Wu said, I like these 2 paintings. Why? Mr. Wu looked at him and asked. Zhang Chen thought for a while and said, although these 2 paintings are both in warm colors, I can read a kind of sadness in the paintings, which makes the whole painting full of emotions. Mr. Wu stared at Zhang Chen for a while, then nodded. He said, it seems that you really understand. I didn't send these 2 paintings to the wrong person. They were all painted when I was decentralized. At that time, not even an easel, do you know where I put it? Zhang Chen shook his head, and Mr. Wu gestured and said, doesn't the basket we use to pick up manure have such a high handle? Just put it on the basket like this and lean on the handle behind, isn't it just an easel, haha. After Mr. Wu finished laughing, the smile faded from his face. You are right. At that time, no one knew what would happen in the future. Thank you book friend 2020717118222046 for the reward. Thank you Andrew, Swayanjiois, why can't I change my name for my monthly ticket? Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you a nice weekend. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 933. Taking letters from professors in Zhejiang and the United States, Yao Fen traveled around the country for a month and recovered more than 200 pieces of works, including paintings by students from the National Academy of Art and Wu Guanzhong and his group of students studying in France, as well as paintings by Gao Jianfu, Huan Zilan, Wang Shikuo, and Wei Tianlin who studied in Japan during this period, Feng Gangbei who studied in Mexico, Li Taifu and Li Yishi who studied in England are all included. Half of them were donated free of charge by the old gentleman Yao Fen visited, in order to show their support for Zhang Chen and others in establishing a professional oil painting studio. These old gentlemen were actually holding a breath in their hearts. This group of people returned to China. After that, those who, like Su Biong and Lu Haisu, switched to traditional Chinese painting and still insisted on painting oil paintings, were in a very bad situation. Even those who still insist on it, the entire oil painting world is controlled by those who later learned from the Soviet Union. Their entire generation has been buried in the soil, as Wu Guanzhong said. It was not until the early 1990s that they came to the world. Excavations began one after another, and Wu Guanzhong himself claimed that he was an unearthed cultural relic. There is such an oil painting studio that pays special tribute to them. These old gentlemen all feel that they have a responsibility to provide strong support, so they sold half of their works and gave the other half to Zhang Chen and others. In addition, at that time in China, the market for traditional Chinese paintings had already risen, but almost no one paid attention to oil paintings. A few people like Pan Yuliang and others were hot topics first, and then their works. There were also artists like Lu Haixue, Wu Guanzhong, and Lin Fengmian. One reason is that the market for ink paintings is good, which also affects their oil paintings. Yao Fen had seen how Zhang Chen negotiated prices in Shanghai. She said to Zhang Chen, "Boss, you should still stay in Hangzhou and stop taking action. If you are not here, I can still negotiate for my own travel expenses. But if you are here, there is basically no chance." Zhang Chen laughed and simply let it go. However, he told Yao Fen that if you meet an old man who has a difficult life, even if he is eager to sell his work, you should raise the price a little higher. Yao Fen said, "Okay, I know what to do, boss." Every time Yao Fen came back from overseas, Zhang Chen would go to the airport to pick her up. He was eager to see what good things she brought back, and every time, Yao Fen did not disappoint him. Especially when Yao Fen brought back a portrait of a musician, Zhang Chen was shocked. He had a picture of this portrait when he was a child and copied it several times. He always thought it was by Rembrandt. Unexpectedly, it belonged to Li Taifu. After reading all the works of that group of people, Zhang Chen had a strong feeling, that is, those Chinese oil painters are not inferior to them at all compared to the painters of the same period from other countries around the world, and these few in the art world are not inferior to them at all. There has been a lot of talk about modernity in the past few years, but in fact, in terms of works, whether it is concepts or expression techniques, they are actually out of date compared to the group of people a few decades ago. This is probably why Lin Fengmian and Wu Guanzhong can still lead the trend when they come out again, and their voices can still make people feel avant-garde, even harsh. With a total of more than 300 works, Zhang Chen felt a sense of satisfaction. He felt that the most important part of the entire history of Chinese oil painting was here. If all these works were displayed, he thought he would cry when he saw them. Zhao Xian also came back. Zhang Chen gathered all the materials they brought back together. He first selected teachers from each school, made a list, and told them, "The ones on this list are the ones we want to buy, and you go do the work." Yao Fen said that these people from Sichuan and the United States basically hang out in a cafe called Bei. That cafe is opened by a female poet. The female poet is very close to teacher He on the list. Zhang Chen said, "Yes, I am not interested in these, I only want works." Then spread the photos of all the students' works on the conference table. Zhang Chen wanted to test them and told them to select 10 people from this. Zhao Xian and Yao Fen made the selections. Zhang Chen looked at them and found that they were quite satisfied. At least they were not too outrageous. He also picked 10. The three of them gathered together, and after deleting the selections, Zhang Chen said, "Okay, it's them." Zhao Xian and Yao Fen looked at him, wondering what he said. Zhang Chen then told them his thoughts. He said that he planned to select 10 students from all over the country every year and support them with 2,000 yuan in living expenses each month. With such a good thing, wouldn't they become rich? Zhao Xian shouted. Zhang Chen nodded and said with a smile, "Only by allowing them to have a stable life can they create better. Our funding requirements are that each person provides us with 2 works every year. We will also give rewards to good works." Zhao Xian and Yao Fen nodded, and Zhang Chen continued to tell them that this year, we will only select from these people. Next year, we will expand the scope to include students from all schools across the country. At the same time, 5 places are provided to the whole society. That is, even if you are not a student of any school, as long as you apply yourself and submit your work, we think it is good after reading it, and we will also provide funding. The purpose is to bring the whole country to all the masters of oil painting are gathered around our oil painting studio. Only in this way can we be called an oil painting studio. Great, that is to say, as long as you draw well, you can have enough food and clothing, Yao Fen said. Zhang Chen is right, because our school still has a certain threshold. There are many talented oil painting enthusiasts who will be blocked from the school by cultural examinations. Those who study painting are asked to take exams in foreign languages, politics, and mathematics. Is a joke in itself. If you take the exam like this, probably most of the people in the history of art in the world will not be able to pass the exam. Da Vinci can pass the exam, he is good at math. Zhao Xian came from the school, so of course he is on the school's side. Yao Fen said, there is still no chance. He still has to take the politics and foreign language exams, and he still can't pass the score line. While Zhang Chen and the others were collecting works, Lao Tan was also in full swing on the renovation of the entire building and the construction of the vault. Lao Tan suggested to Zhang Chen to double the area of the vault. If only the original, if it was more than 100 square meters, he felt it was too small. If he wanted to expand in the future, it would be better to do it now. Zhang Chen agreed. The original glass house was specially used as a studio for He Hongmei. It was more than 500 square meters, which was more than enough. However, if it was used as an art gallery, it would be a little smaller. Taking advantage of this renovation, Lao Tan took advantage of the entire house. The area has been expanded by more than 200 square meters. In this way, the area of the exhibition hall has been greatly expanded. The upper and lower floors add up to nearly 1,000 square meters. All of this exceeded Zhang Chen's original imagination, and Zhang Chen felt that he was trapped in the embarrassment of fishing by himself. First he had the idea of an art museum, and then he recruited people, but immediately he didn't have enough people, and now he doesn't even have enough houses, including investment. Originally, he was planning to take a small amount of capital, but as a result, the capital investment became larger and larger. Fortunately, compared with his income, it had no impact. When he was alone, Zhang Chen would sometimes wonder if he had made the wrong step. But at this time, there was no turning back when he fired his bow. Even if he made a mistake, he could only make the mistake. Xiao Zhao was watching from the side, but she was a little worried, but she had no way to stop it. She could only remind Zhang Chen half jokingly and half seriously, "Dear, why do I feel that you are now a professional in exhibition halls instead of as a business owner? How long has it been since you went to a factory?" Xiao Zhao's words made Zhang Chen's heart tremble. He felt that Xiao Zhao was right. Not only had he not been to the factory for a long time, but he also spent less time going to the design center next door. Fortunately, there is Zhao Zhigang in the factory, Ji Ling in the design center, and Xiao Wan in the store, so I don't need to worry too much. Zhang Chen didn't know if he was losing his ambition by playing with things like this, but he felt that it was a pity not to build a suitable exhibition place for them when half of his office was filled with good things. Zhang Chen told Lu Ligan his thoughts, and Lu Ligan said, "It's okay. This is just a process. I have experienced this kind of experience too much. Every time I start a new project, I will have this process. It's like a pair of parents. If you have only one child, of course all your attention will be on him alone. If there are 7 or 8, you have to let them be in a semi-free state. Otherwise, how can you be busy? Come over? But it's okay. It will be fine when the children grow up. Every project of mine is complicated at the beginning. Once the earthwork is excavated, it becomes simple. The same goes for you. Just be busy for a while and wait for your art museum to open. After that, the 2 little girls have been tempered enough to be able to run the library, and you will be relaxed." Zhang Chen thought it made sense, but felt that it was not entirely the case. He didn't seem to have spent so much energy on M-Zone. Are you stupid? M-Zone. You have Hagen. He knows the market better than you. You don't have to take care of anything. He takes care of everything. If the rent hadn't been put into your account, I wouldn't have done it. I thought, this market is not yours. How many times do you go to the market? Do you know how many times Hagen has to patrol the market every day? Lu Ligan cursed, and Zhang Chen also laughed. He felt that it was true. Even in his mind, he seemed to have forgotten the dynamic. He never felt that there was anything else he needed in the market under his feet to worry about. Lu Ligan said, this art museum is different. You have to come up with all the ideas. Others want to help, but they can't. You have to organize the museum, find collections, and bring people. Of course you are busy. Zhang Chen nodded, feeling that it made sense. Lu Ligan said proudly, as I am now, it is better. I think it will be no problem for me to do 10 more projects. Tan Shahen is in charge internally, and Lao Tan, Lao Wan, and Ying Ying are in charge externally. I feel that I am in a good position. The company is just superfluous. Zhang Chen thought of something and cursed, damn you, you poached all your people from me, causing me to have a serious manpower shortage. Lu Ligan laughed and said, you should feel honored. Although the Whampoa Military Academy is gone, but speaking of it, who doesn't give it a thumbs up? Come on, I will give you 2 thumbs up too. Yu Zhang Chen cursed. After all, we have to continue to do it. Zhang Chen's art museum must be ready before the end of October, because November 12th has been determined to be the opening day of their Riverside Oil Painting Gallery. It is also the day when they enter Jiang on the day when the joint exhibition Art in the War, National Art College and them was launched at the American Art Museum. This them includes the generation who did not attend the National Art College. The reason why I chose November 12th is because 59 years ago, on November 12th, 1937, students from the National Art College, led by the principal Lin Fengmian, said goodbye to Westlake and set foot on the Westlake. Their long journey to the southwest gave the suffering country a chance to preserve an artistic seed. This exhibition is very large in scale and is one of the major cultural events in Hangzhou this year. Even painters Zhao Waoqi and Chu Taichun living overseas will be invited to participate. Thank you Wu Yehuan, Wawa Tin Soldier, and RIRI Fanchu for your rewards. Thank you Wu Yehuan, Xiaoang, have a safe journey, Zipanjiang 1, Humor Tribe, Chuanlin, the most powerful blade of the country, Book Friend 2019230054291143, It is not an impossible world, Cup Guy API, Lao Chen Tang, I am a fat man with potential stocks, Demo Thief, and monthly pass for Yuji. Thank you for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 934. The Gentian River Improvement Project was completed, and the Gentian River was officially renamed the Meisi River. When the gate connecting the Meisi River to the Jiangnan Canal was opened, and the water in the Jiangnan Canal was filtered twice and then flowed into the Meisi River, Lu Ligan his ideal came true, and the Meisi River became the clearest river in Hangzhou. At the same time, Meisi River, a place where people used to cover their noses when passing by, has become a favorite place for Hangzhou residents. People who do morning exercises in the morning, people who take walks in the evening, and people who fall in love at night all like to go to Meisi River. Hangzhou locals actually don't like to go to the West Lake very much. They think that the West Lake is a place where outsiders like to go. After the Meisi River was opened, there were even fewer locals by the West Lake. Even Zhang Chen and the others on the rooftop of the dynamic zone in the garden, the number of young men and women falling in love has significantly decreased. Compared with the Meisi River, the space of the rooftop garden is too narrow and too private. On both sides of the Meisi River, the flowers are now colorful and lush, and the trees on both sides of the river are green. What's more, it's the lawn under the woods. 24 hours a day, you can almost find a suitable place based on the degree of intimacy between two people. When you are just dating or have a vague relationship, and both parties have a little bit of ambiguous feelings, you can choose one of the bridges on the Meesi River and go out together. Walk from this bridge to the other side, and then walk back from the other bridge. I can be patient with you. After walking the 18 bridges, the relationship is basically confirmed. Or lean on the railing and look at the green trees on both sides of the bank, the shimmering waves under the bridge, and the lights that are not dimmed. The brightness is just right for the ambiguous but serious relationship between the two parties. You can also sit on the water bus on the river and ride back and forth until your hands are held together. At this time, you can change the venue and choose the place for your daily date on the chairs by the river, with the shadows of the trees above your head swaying. The flowers blooming around them separated semi-private spaces for them. When the intimate contact of hands and hands rises to mouth and mouth, the chairs by the river can be given up to people who have evolved from the bridge or the water bus. They can go behind the chairs and go to the lawns in the woods on both sides of the river. In front is the quiet Meesi River, and in the back is the busy construction site. Between the movement and the stillness, people will be bold, but not too bold. Soon, the Meesi River became the river of love in Hangzhou. With the opening of the Meesi River, Lu Ligan and his first real estate project were also launched, and the results were very satisfactory. Before the launch of this project, Tan Shuhan suggested that all the houses in splendid Qiantang should be sold out, otherwise, we would have to the real estate will hit itself, she said. Ying Ying agreed to Tan Shuhan's proposal. After the opening of the Meesi River, all their sales staff concentrated on the Meesi River. This is where their bulk is, and their entire company's available properties are on the banks of the Meesi River. Of the 2 million square meters, there are also Dehuayuan under construction and Hangcheng Center yet to be built, and other properties have been sold out. However, the area of real estate on both sides of the Meesi River far exceeds the sum of the several communities they have built and sold, so the sales pressure is not light. According to Tan Shuhan, we must control our own pace and release the properties in an orderly manner according to market demand. If the conditions are not mature, or if we are not sure about the opening price, we are willing to release it, because our entire 2 million square meters, in fact, it is a whole. Although it is developed in pieces, the opening of each building will affect the ones that have been sold in the front and those that have not been opened in the future. As long as one building is sold, it will affect all our houses. Ying Ying and Tan Shuhan coincided with each other on this point. Once these two women got together, Lu Ligan had no chance to express his objection. However, Lu Ligan liked this very much. He liked to watch it. Tan Shuhan quickly got into the role, and I especially liked the way Tan Shuhan acted like a master, intentionally or unintentionally. Although Tan Shuhan and Lu Ligan still deliberately kept a distance, and she would be very alert if Lu Ligan wanted to take further steps, Lu Ligan still felt that everything had settled down. Lu Ligan himself felt strange. It turned out that when he saw a beautiful girl, he would have an impulse in his heart, and he would flirt with her. He would always get her into bed. Although he is not in a state of calmness now, he often has the feeling of being too lazy to move. Too lazy to seduce, too lazy to be courteous, too lazy to even bother to make another phone call. In the past, he would have pursued her fiercely, leaving her with no way to retreat, and finally surrendered obediently. Another reason why Lu Ligan was so lazy was that he found that although Tan Shuhan refused to let him take a step closer, she didn't care about other men. For a woman like Tan Shuhan, there will always be many men who try their best to get close to her and try their best to get close to her, but she just laughs it off. She won't even have a meal with them politely, and even refuses. It's so blunt that you don't have the courage to try again. And at least she would never refuse to eat with Lu Ligan. A lonely man and a woman who live across from each other have no other place to go. They eat together basically every day. Although they mostly talk about work issues during meals, they can still understand each other after spending time together. The other person's consideration and care. For example, when ordering food, Lu Ligan asked Tan Shahan to order, and Tan Shahan would order what Lu Ligan liked to eat. If Lu Ligan wanted to have one more drink, Tan Shahan would not allow it. It has a family feel. Several times when Lu Ligan was on a business trip, Tan Shahan would subconsciously walk out of her office when it was time to eat, wanting to call Lu Ligan. When she walked to the door, she saw that the door of Lu Ligan's office was closed, and then she thought, he's not here today. Tan Shahan was startled for a moment, then smiled in a self-deprecating way. Lu Ligan felt that he and Tan Shahan were competing for patience. Well, since you don't want to be seduced and you won't be seduced, then I won't bother to seduce others. After the Meisi River was opened, Lu Ligan found an early morning and took a water bus alone. Looking at the clear river bottom, he thought of Sushaimo's farewell Cambridge again. He felt that he was wrong. Cam River turned out to be very clear. For a river, it is not how oily the water plants are, but whether you can see the oily water plants. You can now see the bottom of the Meisi River, although the aquatic plants on the bottom of the river have not yet grown, let alone oil. Before that, in its Gentian River stage, all you could see were green duckweeds or water hyacinths. There are also somersault bugs close to the water surface, one after another somersaulting up from the dark green water. The water bus has a stop at Gentian Power Plant. Lu Ligan got off the boat here. This place has also been renovated. In addition to Zhongchen's Riverside Oil Painting Gallery that is about to open, there is also a public exhibition hall that everyone can visit. The first exhibition where you can apply for exhibition is the Old Tang Printmaking Exhibition. In Gentian Power Plant, there is also the Hangzhou Industrial Museum of the Republic of China. In addition to the old equipment of Gentian Power Plant, it also includes old equipment from silk, cigarette, scissors, and fan factories, as well as restored displays of their workshops. These are almost the entire Hangzhou. The overall picture of industry during the Republic of China was also pitiful. There is also an old factory building that has been converted into a public market. It is said to be a public market, but in fact it is not public at all, but a bit bourgeois. The restaurants, cafes, bakeries, tea houses, etc. inside are all decorated differently. Personalized. Lu Ligan found a noodle shop and ate a bowl of noodles. The noodle shop was very exquisite from the decoration to the tableware. However, there was too little noodles and he could only eat half full. He was too embarrassed to have another bowl. He was so angry that he almost beat the boss. Called for education. You open a noodle shop, decorate the tableware, etc. These are all the last things, but the main thing is to keep people full. You throw away the good and chase the last, and see if anyone dares to come and eat again. Lu Ligan went out, shook his head, then went to the bakery next door, bought a loaf of bread and ate it. He felt that Tan Shahan and the others needed to come to visit. It would be best to go to each store and taste it, and then give them some suggestions. Otherwise, this mass market will soon turn into a mass slaughterhouse and drive away all the customers. When Lu Ligan saw Lao Tan's car parked here, he walked to Zhongchen's Lakeside Oil Painting Gallery and saw Lao Tan in the glass house. Lu Ligan asked, "Why are you here so early?" Lao Tan pointed to the safe next to him and said to Lu Ligan, "It was just installed here yesterday, and the equipment was started overnight. I came over to see the effect." Lu Ligan was curious and walked in to take a look. He said to Lao Tan, "There seems to be no difference." Lao Tan smiled and said, "Humidity and oxygen content need to be measured with a thermometer and oxygen meter. You can feel it like this, and your body is too sensitive. However, you can feel the temperature, but it's cool now, and you can't feel it either. You don't feel it, you'll feel it when the temperature outside gets higher. Old Tan, if you put a corpse in here, will it not rot?" Lu Ligan asked. Lao Tan glanced at him and cursed, "Yes, you won't grow old if you lie here every day." Lu Ligan laughed. The renovated glass house has all been replaced with tempered insulating glass and imported thermal insulation film, which can effectively block ultraviolet rays and heat insulation, and also protect indoor exhibits from being damaged by high temperatures. The entire glass house on the roof, electric sunshades are also installed, which can be activated when the sun is very strong. Such renovation costs are very high. Lu Ligan even thinks that it is more cost-effective to move into an empty factory building or use other materials to build one. He also believes that a glass house is not suitable for an exhibition hall. But Zhang Chen was very insistent and had no choice, so just spend more money. Lu Ligan felt that Zhang Chen's persistence was a bit inexplicable. He even wondered if it was because of Zhang Chen's original promise to He Hongmei. This boring guy, sometimes when he is sullen, the circuitry of his brain is different from other people's, and it's hard for you to guess. It's okay, Lao Tan and Lu Ligan said, we tried it yesterday, and the heat insulation and energy saving effects are obvious. This has also accumulated experience for us, which can be used in Hangzhou Center. Lu Lepol nodded. Thank you for the tip from the third one from top to bottom, 131 on the shore. Thank you for the monthly tickets for Flowers and Youth, Laughing and Running Y, Tianying 1978, May, Zhengguang Ion Exchange Resin Ping, Fskrftderg, WXD 121, Bustling Farce, Mwu, Lu, Wonderful on the Road. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 935. Lu Ligan left Genshin Power Plant and did not return to the company. Instead, he went to Zhang Chen's place. When he got upstairs, he found that Zhang Chen had not come yet. Yao Fen and Zhao Xian were already busy in his office. These two, when he first recruited girls who were rated as 5 stars, he planned to flirt with them in the future, but for some reason, he suddenly lost interest. He said hello to the two of them, walked out of Zhang Chen's office, opened the small door leading to the garden, walked over, and walked until he and Zhang Chen were there. He was used to standing every time. He took out the cigarettes from his pocket, put them on the railing, took out one, lit it, put the lighter on the cigarette case, and started smoking. The Hangcheng refinery next door is now in ruins, and the view suddenly becomes wider. Standing here, you can directly see the musical fountain of Woolen Square and the Huanbei small commodity market that is being demolished. Only the telecommunications building is still alone. The earth stood there. The Hangcheng refinery was being demolished faster than he expected, mainly because the market for scrap steel has been good recently. The boss who bought the scrap steel here was working overtime. Lu Ligan was very worried about the pipelines and the 2 steel scraps in the refinery. There is still waste oil, exhaust gas, etc. in the spherical storage tank. Don't cause trouble with these guys' brutal operations. Lu Ligan asked Lao Wan to send people to keep an eye on them. Fortunately, they were all demolished and everything was safe. Lu Ligan could breathe a sigh of relief. The reason why the telecommunications building is still standing here after it has been evacuated is that Lu Ligan and the district government have not yet made a final decision on whether to use manual demolition or directional blasting. The telecom building is really a lively place. Across the road is the Hangzhou department store and residential area, and next to it is Woolen Square. No matter what plan is adopted, there are a lot of supporters and a lot of opponents. Lu Ligan really wished he had one. In the cartoon Ma Yang, the magic brush he watched when he was a child, Ma Yang's magic brush disappeared with a single wave of his hand. He didn't expect that building a building would be troublesome, but demolishing a building would be just as troublesome, but Lu Ligan knew in his heart that he really had to be careful about this, because no matter what plan he adopted, as long as something went wrong, he would be responsible for everything. Responsibility. Zhang Chen came over, walked to the side of Lu Li's pole and stood there, took the cigarettes and lighter from the railing, lit one, and then put them back. Lu Ligan looked at him and asked, "Do you want to give this building to you?" "No, keep it for yourself," Zhang Chen said. "I'd put it in my pocket if I could." Zhang Chen smiled and asked, "Why, it hasn't been decided yet." "No, it's about blasting quickly and blasting. But whether the blasting technology is as good as those companies brag about, I doubt it. Damn it, if something goes wrong with blasting, I won't be able to live with it." "What's the district's opinion?" Zhang Chen asked. "They hope to demolish it as soon as possible to reduce the impact of this area on the entire surrounding traffic, but they want me to make my own decision. Frankly speaking, I still don't want to shoulder the burden." Zhang Chen thought for a moment and said, "Let's use manual labor. I'd rather go slower. The situation here is too complicated. There are mistakes even when launching rockets. Let alone blasting. You really can't afford it in case of a contingency." Lu Ligan said, "Yes, I will listen to you and do artificial work." "How is Tan Shahen now?" Zhang Chen asked. "It's good. The role changes very quickly. Whenever I have time every day, I study. Not only do I have to take self-study exams, but I also learn about business. She is now more knowledgeable about real estate than me." "I didn't know she was so capable before." Lu Lipol smiled. Zhang Chen said, "I have always known that she is very capable, has a big heart, is strong, and has perseverance. You have found a treasure. Okay, thank you for the reward. By the way, where are you two? Still like that?" "Take your time, this guy needs to be stroked smoothly," Zhang Chen said. Lu Ligan nodded and said, "I know." The two of them stood there and finished smoking a cigarette. Lu Ligan said, "I'm leaving," and let Lao Tan find the demolition team to arrange the demolition of the house. The two people walked back to the small door. Zhang Chen said to Lu Ligan, "By the way, and Tan Shahen that they would have dinner together tomorrow night." "What for?" Lu Ligan asked. "He Hung Mei will come back tomorrow." "What are you doing here, Sichuan girl?" "There are costumes for a TV series. I brought over the plan and asked me to help me look at it. I also needed to find fabrics," Zhang Chen said. "Okay, I understand, I'll tell her." Lu Ligan returned to the company, and Lao Tan had also arrived. Lu Ligan told him that I had decided that the communication building should be demolished manually, and I would rather go slower. Lao Tan said, "Okay, that's right, I'll make arrangements right away." Lao Tan originally supported manual demolition. He had the same reason as Zhang Chen. He and Lu Ligan said that you have only seen explosive explosions in movies, but I have experienced it myself. How can I say that this explosion was 100% successful? Yes, even if there is 1,000th of a mistake, we cannot afford it. Now that he heard that Lu Ligan had decided to use manual demolition, he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Lu Ligan walked to Tan Shahen's office and saw Tan Shahen sitting in a daze. Lu Ligan asked, "What are you thinking about?" Tan Shahen looked at him and said, "I'm thinking, after we finish the Hangcheng Center, what will we do next?" Lu Ligan burst into laughter. "What are you thinking? The communication building is still there and has not been demolished, so you are thinking about what will happen after it is completed. Sit down, sit down, sit down quickly." Tan Shahen shouted. Lu Ligan sat down, and Tan Shahen said to him, "I'm not kidding you. Really, I looked at the land we have now, and I don't know what's wrong with you. What you bought is a bunch of stuff that either can't be developed or hasn't met the development conditions yet. Apart from the center of Hangzhou, we have zero land that can be developed, and we don't even have any reserved land. So what? I'll figure it out later," Lu Ligan said nonchalantly. Tan Shahen shook her head and said to Lu Ligan seriously, "Gangzi, I think this is wrong. We are in the real estate business, not Zhang Chen and others who are making clothes. Today we buy fabrics during the day and can produce them at night. We have a piece of land, from expropriation to demolition, to 3 connections, 1 leveling and supporting facilities. Once all the procedures are completed, how long will it take to develop it? What should we do if we don't have mature land? There are so many people in the construction company, and there are so many people in sales and the company. Can you ask everyone to stop and wait for you to find the land? I feel that we are not only selling a house must have steps, which is the back end, and the front end, which is the land, should also have a rhythm. A company of our size must at least have projects for sale and projects under construction at the same time. It must also have mature land that can be developed at any time, and it must also have projects under discussion. This is only reasonable. There are some for sale and under construction, but there is no land. I think this is very dangerous. This land is not something you will get immediately if you want it. Especially now that there are more and more real estate companies, everyone is grabbing a piece of land, overtly or covertly, using all means, which makes it even more difficult to obtain land. We must be prepared for this difficulty. Be prepared for a rainy day. Lu Ligan felt that what Tan Shahan said made sense. He knew that if Tan Shahan said this, she would definitely have her thoughts and plans. Lu Ligan asked, "What do you think?" "I was reading a piece of information on satellite towns yesterday. Advanced foreign cities all have satellite towns. I think there will definitely be satellite towns in Hangzhou in the future. Don't you like big things? Let's make a big deal and develop one. Satellite towns that can house 100,000 to 200,000 people." "Okay, I like this idea," Lu Ligan shouted. Tan Shahan said angrily, "I knew you liked it." Lu Ligan chuckled. Tan Shahan stood up, walked to the map of Hangzhou on the wall, and said to Lu Ligan, "I checked the expansion of Hangzhou's urban area in the past 3 years. It is getting bigger and faster every year. What does this mean? It means that places that we feel are remote now will probably not feel remote in another 3 to 5 years. Let's start now and get the land. It will take less than 2 or 3 years to acquire and demolish such a large area of land and complete the 3 roads and 1 leveling. This is just right. Once we have developed the center of Hangzhou, we can develop there. As for the location, the Qiantang River is to the south. The other side of the river is not considered. It is too restricted by traffic. We cannot solve the traffic problem. There is no land to the east. Now the city has placed the higher education park Xiaosha, past Xiaosha, is Haining, so I don't consider going east. What I can consider now is west or north. That's the area close to Yuhang and Fuang. Why can't Haining be considered?" Lu Ligan said. "Going to Haining, it's all flat land, and going to Fuang, it's still mountainous. Haining belongs to Jiaxing. No one will buy a house across regions. It will be very inconvenient in the future. Moreover, what we are doing is a satellite town of Hangzhou, not a satellite town of Jiaxing. Whether it is Yuhang or Fuang, at least they belong to the big city." "Hangzhou." Lu Ligan nodded. He felt that what Tan Shahan said made sense. He thought of his experience in developing Xinbu Island in Haikan and felt that no matter how good his idea was, it still had to be integrated with the overall city planning. Otherwise, it would not be possible. On paper, it's just whimsical. Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan said, "In this case, I will contact the planning bureau to see what Hangzhou's mid and long-term plans are. We will discuss it based on this plan." Tan Shahan nodded and said yes. Lu Ligan did what he said. He contacted him immediately and invited friends from the planning bureau to dinner. In the afternoon, he got the medium and long-term plan of Hangzhou City. When he left the planning bureau, he called Zhang Chen and Lao Tan and asked them to they also came along to help with reference. After Zhang Chen and Lao Tan arrived, Lu Ligan told them Tan Shahan's idea, and they all agreed. Lao Tan said that this is what should be done. A company cannot only have tactics, but also a strategy. Xiao Tan, the idea is to have a strategic vision. A friend from the Planning Bureau also revealed a very important piece of information to Lu Ligan, saying that the Hangzhou city government intends to remove Yuhang and Xiaoshan, two county-level cities, from cities to districts and merge them into Hangzhou, and has applied to the central government. That's great. If so, Hangzhou city will advance northward faster, and the integration of the two places will definitely be accelerated as soon as possible, Tan Shuhan said. If so, we will take the land near Hangzhou and Yuhang, and take the land in Yuhang and close to Hangzhou is the same. Now, will there be a difference in land grade between these two places? Tan Shuhan asked. Lu Lepol nodded. Then let's go get Yuhang's, Tan Shuhan said. Thank you to Tianying 1978, Worms Never Fly, Lulu 6717 P11, Brokeback Mountain, Baby Tin Soldier, Reading Books Every Day, On the Shore 131, and the third-ranked monthly ticket from top to bottom. Thank you for all the recommendation votes and monthly votes. Have a good evening everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 936. When will Jacques leave? Lu Ligan asked Lao Tan. The plane will fly from Shanghai to Toronto at around 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, Lao Tan said. Go and talk to him. We need him to stay for a while. If this project is to be done, he must participate, Lu Ligan said. Tan Shuhan also said, yes, we need to listen to his opinions from the site selection point onwards. Zhang Chen looked at the map and said, if you want to build a residential town, my suggestion is here, or here. Tan Shuhan took a look and saw that Zhang Chen was referring to Liangzhu and Renhe. Tan Shuhan asked why. These two places not only have mountains, but also rivers. The rivers can be led into the city to form landscape lakes. One mountain, one river, and one lake. This is convenient for landscaping. Moreover, if Hangzhou develops in the future, it will definitely develop to the northwest. This place may seem far away now, but it may not be so in the future, Zhang Chen said. Lu Ligan looked at the planning map and told them, there will be a high-speed pass here in the future. Zhang Chen shouted, then there will be no problem? Lu Ligan thought for a moment and said, moreover, these two places belong to Yuhang. To Yuhang, they are worse than Kiasi. They are both in very remote countryside. The land price in this place must be very cheap. In this way, Pol, you first go to understand the situation in these two places, and then we will listen to Jacques' opinion, Tan Shuhan said. Lu Lizan nodded and said yes. Lao Tan stood up and said, I'll go talk to Jacques. Zhang Chen remembered and said with a smile, brother, I see that you and the foreigner can communicate without using an interpreter. How did you do it? As soon as Zhang Chen said this, Lu Ligan and Tan Shuhan also remembered it. It seemed that this was really the case. They all looked at Lao Tan curiously. Lao Tan laughed, made a few gestures with his hands, and asked, do you understand? Zhang Chen, Lu Ligan, and Tan Shuhan didn't understand and shook their heads. Lu Ligan asked, are you using sign language like deaf-mute people? Flag language, Lao Tan said. Jacques served in the Royal Canadian Navy. We use flag language, plus other gestures, and there are only a few things on the construction site. After a long time, even a mute can understand it. Zhang Chen and the others suddenly realized. Early the next morning, Fan Jiangguo took Jacques to visit the area. Lu Ligan used his connections to get to know the situation in those two places. At noon, Lu Ligan came back. He was a little frustrated. Tan Shuhan said, Liangzhu, that piece seems to be dead. Someone got there first. Why? Tan Shuhan asked. There is a Liangzhu ruins there. The city government is planning to develop it. That land, which is more than 8 square kilometers, has been taken away by a company. The route is the same as Argentian River. That is, they are responsible for funding the construction of the Liangzhu ruins. Museum Lu Ligan said. More than 8 square kilometers, that's more than 12,000 acres. Which company is so powerful? Tan Shahan asked. It's not a big company, but the boss resigned from the Provincial Party Committee General Office and went to work. The current boss in Hangzhou is not the director of the General Office. They are old acquaintances. In Yuhang, he is the deputy mayor in charge of the development of the Liangzhu ruins. I'm an old colleague of this boss, and it's said that this piece of land was very cheap to get. Tan Shahan looked at the map and said, that may not be a bad thing for us. First, the land in that area already has a reference price. Second, if 2 such large projects are settled in there, the popularity on that corner can quickly increase the popularity. Lu Lepol nodded. When Jacques came back in the afternoon, Zhang Chen and Lao Tan also came over. Lu Ligan told them about the scene in the Liangzhu land. Both Zhang Chen and Lao Tan felt deeply regretful and felt that they had missed the Liangzhu culture. It's a pity. Jacques had different opinions from them. Instead, he was interested in the land in Renhe. Zhang Chen said with a smile, this foreigner probably has nothing to do with the Liangzhu culture purely from the terrain itself. However, this is not bad. If we consider it as a purely residential town, there are also the advantage, at least in terms of architecture, is that it can be of different shapes without having to consider the impact on the site. Jacques' idea was really guessed by Zhang Chen. He thought that the mountains on the Liangzhu side were too small and difficult to make a fuss about. As for the Renhe area, there were Tutu Mountain, Tangjiashan and Hungshan in the back, and the Zitang River in front of it, heading east. You can go to the planned expressway and go west to connect Angzi ancient town. This is a good place to build a residential town. As for a residential town, Jacques believes that the size of a residential town of 100,000 people is appropriate. Too much will make it crowded and noisy, too small, and the population of the residential town itself will not be able to support the supporting facilities of the town, such as commerce and public transportation. If the system is not up or down, it will make people feel very inconvenient. With a scale of 100,000 people, you can have your own schools and hospitals and form your own commercial district. As for the land area of the town, Jacques suggested that it should be 15 square kilometers of flat land, plus about 3 square kilometers, which is 4 to 5,000 acres of mountainous land. The entire town is newly planned, and the town itself will become a beautiful place. Landscape, in this way, on the mountains behind the town, you can consider developing mountain villas, mountain hotels, and mountain horse farms, where you can ride horses and stroll through the mountains. Zhang Chen felt that Jacques' idea was good. It was too cheap to build a landscape by himself and then build a landscape villa on the mountain. And his mountain horse farm will have a huge market. The Chinese people have a special affection for horses for some unknown reason. Riding horses and roaming in the mountains is the dream of many people. If there is such a horse farm, it will definitely become the city of Hangzhou. A popular leisure place for young people. Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan decided that it was decided to focus on this area. The next task was for Lu Ligan to contact the Yuhang municipal government through connections. Several people talked about the name of the town, and Zhang Chen said it was called Sky City. As soon as Zhang Chen said it, Tan Shahan first expressed that she liked the name very much, so it was decided as City in the Sky. Lu Ligan then went to find a way to make it come true. Dinner was served at Tianxiang building, which had moved to a new home, and it was still a large table for 18 people. He Hongmei, who Xiao Zhao had picked up at the airport, arrived here first. When Zhang Chen, Lu Ligan, Tan Shahan, and the others arrived, Xiao Zhao and He Hongmei were already in the box. Today, He Hongmei was different from before. She wore a pair of round black-rimmed glasses. Lu Ligan screamed when she saw them. Sichuan girl, why don't I recognize you? At first glance, I thought you were a female intellectual from somewhere. Are you a plain-looking guy pretending to be polite? He Hongmei smiled and said, I am a robber originally, there is no need to pretend. After sitting down, Lu Ligan insisted that He Hongmei show him her glasses. Tan Shahen scolded him, you want to die, you have to look at everything. Yes, I must try the Sichuan girl's glasses, Lu Ligan shouted. He Hongmei was so annoyed that she took off her glasses and threw them to Lu Ligan. Lu Ligan immediately put them on, and everyone laughed when they looked at him. Lu Ligan looked around and wondered, is it that funny if I wear glasses? Look, 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 do I look like Suze Haimo? Zhang Chen looked at him and scolded, you are not like Suze Haimo, you are like Suzimo, good glasses, but when you wear them, you look like a pair of glasses. Everyone at the table was almost bursting with laughter. Looking at Lu Lipol, he really looked like the second tube in a pair of mahjong tiles, placed on the bridge of his nose. Lu Ligan took off his glasses, gave them back to He Hongmei, and said to her, the verification is complete. It turns out that you are a real gentleman and not a robber. Sichuan girl, when did you become myopic? I've always been short-sighted. How could I have eaten so many meals with you if I wasn't nearsighted? He Hongmei retorted, and everyone at the table laughed again. Lu Ligan also smiled and said, then can you skip eating today? Why? Sister Shahen is sitting next to you today. She has neutralized your ugliness. I can eat it? He Hongmei said. Lu Ligan chuckled. Tan Shahen couldn't help but blush slightly, and subconsciously separated a little from Lu Ligan. While the people at the table were joking, Lao Tan sent Jacques to the hotel and picked up Lu Bang. The two of them walked into the box. As soon as Lu Bang came in, he wanted to hug He Hongmei. He said he hadn't seen each other for too long. Miss you. He Hongmei stood up, hugged Han Emperor Lu Bang, and said to him, I miss you too, brother Lu. Lao Tan stretched out his hand to shake He Hongmei's hand. He Hongmei smiled and said, hello, brother Tan. Then Chu Tianlin and Xiaoan came in. When Xiaoan came in and saw He Hongmei, she screamed, and the two hugged each other. Chu Tianlin stood aside and looked at them with a smile. After they finished hugging, she also hugged He Hongmei and hugged her. Said, Hongmei is beautiful again, now she looks like a lady. He Hongmei smiled shyly and said, thank you, Sister Tianlin. Then Wei Venfang and Wu Ziyawai arrived. Wei Venfang and He Hongmei inevitably hugged each other again. Wu Ziyawai stood aside, and Lu Ligong pulled him away and cursed, what does it have to do with you, you want to take advantage of me again. Think about it, but she doesn't dare. Wu Kai pointed at Wei Venfang, and everyone in the room laughed. Wei Venfang rolled her eyes at Wu Kai. Finally, Old Tang arrived. As soon as Old Tang arrived, He Hongmei quickly told him, I'm sorry, Old Tang. I didn't even come to your print exhibition. I heard it was very successful. Old Tang laughed and said it's okay, I brought you something. As Old Tang said, he handed He Hongmei a square frame. Inside the frame was a portrait print. Everyone present recognized the person as He Hongmei. He Hongmei quickly said thank you Old Tang. Old Tang smiled and said, this painting was also on display at the exhibition. Several of my old classmates said they wanted to get to know this woman. Should I give them your contact information? No, 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 He Hongmei said quickly. Await the price, Lu Ligan shouted, if anyone is willing to pay a high price, Old Tang, ask him to come to me and ask for it. He Hongmei glared at him and cursed, then I will tell them that you are my agent. If anything happens, ask them to call you after 12 o'clock in the evening. Old Tang said okay, then I will tell them directly that Zhuangzi is your agent and ask them to call him at 12 o'clock in the evening. Thank you to Dal Tin Soldier and Riri Shushu for the reward. Thank you to Murin, Yuingzi, Fskrufderg, Zibei Kangsheng Edison, and Bailiang for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 937. After dinner, Lu Bang, the emperor of the Han dynasty, invited everyone to play in his bowling alley. He Hongmei said she wanted to go to the Yan'an Road store. The result of everyone's discussion was that Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao took He Hongmei to the store first. The others followed Han Emperor Lu Bang to his bowling alley, and Zhang Chen and the others would come back from the store later. The three of them arrived at the store. Xiao Wan was very happy to see He Hongmei. She took out her camera and made sure to take a photo with her. He Hongmei smiled and said, "Are you addicted to taking photos?" Xiao Wan said, "That's right, you are the one who should take a photo with me the most. I haven't taken a photo with you yet, so hurry up." By the end of Xiaojuan's speech, Sichuan dialect came out. He Hongmei said, okay, then we will take a group photo." The two people stood shoulder to shoulder, and Zhang Chen pressed the shutter. Next, Xiao Zhao and Xiao Wan accompanied He Hongmei around the store. Zhang Chen sat in the VIP room drinking tea. After walking around for a while, He Hongmei asked Zhang Chen, "Master, why are there so few of your designs here?" Zhang Chen asked curiously, "How do you know that I have so little?" He Hongmei snorted, "Can't I still see what you designed?" Xiao Zhao looked at Zhang Chen and said with a smile, "He is now a professional oil painting studio." Xiao Wan said, "The boss's design is all here, and the VIP points are not enough." He Hongmei nodded and said, "However, this junior sister is very powerful now. I will praise her well tomorrow." After shopping in the store, they went to the bowling alley owned by Lu Bang, the founder of the Han dynasty. Everyone was there. They played until about 12 o'clock, and then went to Urquio food stall in Longxiang Bridge for a late-night snack. After sitting down, Zhang Chen looked at Wei Venfang and Wu Ziyawai. He kept remembering how busy they were at night. He asked Wei Venfang curiously, "Can you all go away now?" Wei Venfang nodded and said, "We have enough manpower now. Wu Ziyawai's sister is watching in the company. We can leave for one night, no problem." Lu Ligan scolded, "What do you mean? Do you hope that people will always be slaves and never make a living?" Wei Venfang quickly said, "Mr. Zhang didn't mean that. When we were in the company, we were still very busy at this point, just like in Sanbeo factory. If people were there, there would definitely be a lot of work to do, but if they came out, they would be busy. It's out. I hope next time, Hongmei will come back a few times a month so that we can take the opportunity to rest." Everyone laughed, and Zhang Chen nodded secretly, feeling that Wei Venfang was really powerful now. His words made everyone feel comfortable. Chu Tianlin looked at Lu Ligan and said, "Don't meddle in other people's affairs. Tell me, can we move at the end of this month?" Tan Shahen smiled and said, "It's definitely possible. Sister Chu, don't worry. Sister Chu is happy to move into a new house, so we must congratulate her then." Wei Venfang stood up, raised the cup, and said to Chu Tianlin, "Thank you, sister, for taking care of our business so much. I don't even have the chance to thank you. This cup, I borrow flowers to offer to Buddha." Chu Tianlin smiled and said, "Seeing you all succeeding in your career makes me feel really old. However, looking at you, I feel happy as I grow old." Lu Bang, the emperor of the Han dynasty, shouted, "Miss Chu, if you want to say we are old, then the communist army and I will be buried many times. However, Miss Chu, you are right. This is the same every time I return to the mainland. When I return to Taiwan, I feel that everything has stopped there. When I come to the mainland, it changes in just a few months. Not only the cities and roads, but also the people, and these good friends make me admire them every time. Come on, Let's have a drink together, Lao Tan suggested, and everyone raised their glasses. After eating supper, they dispersed. He Hongmei stayed at Zhang Chen's house at night. She was going to stay in a hotel, but Xiao Zhao didn't allow it. Xiao Zhao said, "There is a room at home, and it's yours. When you return to Hangzhou, you must take it. Live at home." After returning home, He Hongmei went to the studio with Zhang Chen, took out her design plan, showed it to Zhang Chen, and told Zhang Chen that the investors of this drama were very aggressive and spent a lot of money, and it must be made into an annual drama. It was a popular drama, so the requirements in all aspects were very strict, which made me feel very uneasy. Zhang Chen smiled and said, "What are you afraid of? Whether it can become a famous drama is not determined by your costume. It mainly depends on the script, director, and actors. Where is your level? Be more confident. No matter how much money he invests, you can handle your work yourself." He Hongmei giggled, "I just don't have confidence." Zhang Chen scolded, "You are a coward. You were frightened by someone's bluff. Why, that Wen Wen didn't help you bluff her back." He Hongmei laughed, "Yes, but people are a little used to being fooled by her now and don't take it seriously." Zhang Chen laughed loudly, "This idiot had to bluff once in a while, how could he bluff every time?" Xiao Zhao walked in and told He Hongmei that the water was hot and he should take a bath quickly. He Hongmei nodded yet. Zhang Chen asked He Hongmei, "Do you have the script?" He Hongmei quickly said, "Take it with you." She ran back to her room, took out the script from her suitcase, ran over again, and handed the script to Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen and He Hongmei said, "Leave it to me, you go ahead, I will read the script first, then look at your plan, and then modify it based on the fabrics in the warehouse. No matter how good the design is, if there is no fabric, it cannot be made. The effect you want is impossible." He Hongmei smiled and said, "Thank you, master. Once I get to master, I feel confident." Xiao Zhao took He Hongmei's hand and went out. After the two took a shower, they walked to the door of the studio to take a look. Zhang Chen was reading the script very seriously, so the two of them didn't disturb him. They went to He Hongmei's room and sat on the bed to chat. When Zhang Chen finished correcting He Hongmei's manuscript and went to the bathroom to wash up, he heard Xiao Zhao and He Hongmei in He Hongmei's room still talking in Chongqing dialect. Zhang Chen shook his head with a smile and walked into the bathroom. When they got up the next day, the three of them went to Zhang Chen's parents' place to have breakfast. Xiang Nan and Xiang Bei saw them from a distance, so they called out to Aunt Hongmei and ran over. One of them took one of He Hongmei's hands. He Hongmei shouted, "This way I won't be able to get you gifts. Do you want any gifts?" The two children quickly shouted for it, let go of He Hongmei, and stood side by side in front of her. He Hongmei took the bag in Zhang Chen's hand and gave them the gifts and food. The two of them held the gifts and food in their hands. He came to hold He Hongmei's hand, and one person occupied one side, squeezing He Hongmei with his body. Zhang Chen's parents heard the shouts from south to north and ran out of the house. They looked at He Hongmei and smiled. He Hongmei called her uncle and aunt from afar. After breakfast, the three of them walked outside. Xiao Zhao and He Hongmei said, "I will go directly to the company. You can take your master's car and ask him to accompany you to Genshin power plant. Don't you want to go there to see it?" He Hongmei said yes. Zhang Chen took He Hongmei and drove directly in front of the Riverside Oil Painting Gallery. He Hongmei got out of the car, looked around, and asked in confusion, "Why is this place so big?" Zhang Chen told her that because this place was to be converted into an art museum, for the sake of safety and the need to protect the exhibits inside, everything had been renovated. During the remodeling, the area was expanded. Zhang Chen knocked on the glass next to the door with his hand, and told He Hongmei that this is now all made of tempered insulating glass. Even a big man can't break it with a 12-pound hammer. Also, This glass is covered with glass. A layer of heat-insulating film so that you are not afraid of ultraviolet rays and direct sunlight. He Hongmei nodded. The two people walked in. Inside, Zhao Xian and Yao Fen were leading people to do sanitation. Zhang Chen introduced them and told Zhao Xian and Yao Fen that this place turned out to be her territory. Zhao Xian and Yao Fen both shouted, you know, who doesn't know about designer he, Yao Fen and He Hongmei said, when this was still your studio, I visited here, but you may not remember me. He Hongmei shouted, I didn't drive you away then, did I? No, you were very kind to me and gave me water. At that time, I wanted to ask you if you wanted to hire an assistant. Seeing that you had an assistant nearby, I was too embarrassed to ask, Yao Fen said. Everyone laughed. He Hongmei said, then we are still destined. You don't work here anymore. To be honest, I envy you. I want to continue working here. He Hongmei turned to Zhang Chen and said, Master, if I can't survive in Beijing, I'd better go back here and work with them, okay. Zhao Xian and Yao Fen laughed wildly. Zhang Chen glared at He Hongmei and cursed, if you can't survive and come back, I will throw you into the river outside. He Hongmei stuck out her tongue and said to Zhao Xian and Yao Fen, did you see that he is usually so cruel to you? Zhao Xian and Yao Fen quickly shook their heads. He Hongmei sighed and said, oh, my disciple is so undignified. Zhang Chen was made to laugh by her, and He Hongmei was laughing. Zhang Chen asked Zhao Xian and Yao Fen, the shelf was not delivered. The ones upstairs have been delivered, Zhao Xian said, the ones downstairs have been delivered this afternoon. Zhang Chen said yes. They walked upstairs along the glass steps and saw someone setting up a stainless steel shelf for the backboard. After the shelf was set up, pieces of dark gray backboards would be fixed on the shelf, and each oil painting would be on the back panel. The two people walked around the maze-like exhibition hall separated by stainless steel shelves. When they returned downstairs, Zhang Chen opened the vault. He Hongmei saw that there were rows of shelves inside, with different specifications and ages on the shelves. Oil paintings are arranged densely. He Hongmei asked, how many collections are there now? More than 700 pieces, Zhang Chen said proudly, from the earliest Lang Shining to the current Zhou Qinya, Lu Xiaodong, Fang Lejun, and Mao Yan. I have their works here who may leave their names in the history of Chinese oil painting. He Hongmei glanced at Zhang Chen and said with a smile, seeing how proud you are, no wonder Xiao Zhao said that you are now a professional oil painting studio. Zhang Chen said with some embarrassment that when I wasn't doing it, I don't know, but once I started doing it, I became really addicted. After I got this painting, I couldn't hold it back, and I immediately wanted that painting again. What's the difference between you and a landlord? You want the employer's land, but you also want the West's, He Hongmei scolded. Zhang Chen said yes, there is no difference. However, he is a lover of land, just like the Pole, and I am a lover of oil painting. The degree of hobby is the same, there is no distinction between high and low. The two of them walked outside. He Hongmei walked to the pier, looked at both sides of the Meisi River, and sighed, it's so beautiful here. She turned around and said to Zhang Chen with a sad face, Master, I really want to come back. Zhang Chen glared at her and cursed, don't be so worthless. At this time, there happened to be a water bus docking at the pier. He Hongmei pointed at it and said, then you take this bus with me to comfort me. Zhang Chen said yes. Thank you for the tip from the third one from top to bottom, 131 on the shore. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy life. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 938. He Hongmei was very busy. She only stayed in Hangzhou for one night. On the evening of the next day, she returned to Beijing with the fabrics Zhang Chen had matched for her and the revised design draft. She made an appointment with Zhang Chen, and she would definitely come back when Zhang Chen's Riverside Oil Painting Gallery opened on November 12. Zhang Chen wanted to take her to the airport, but He Hongmei refused. She said that it would be fine if Xiao Zhao and Ji Yiling took her there. "Master, you go and do your own thing. In fact, I was afraid that I would be sad when we broke up at the airport." Although not many days had passed, it was November 12, but I couldn't help it. People are like this. For some people, even if you are together every day, they will be separated when they are separated. If they disappear suddenly, you may only say oh at most, but with some people, you just want to be with them every day. Even if he can't become your family or lover, just being together and seeing him every day is still good. Meeting him at this corner or breaking up at the next corner will make people feel lost and sad, let alone for several days. Through his connections, Lu Ligan established a connection with the Yuhang municipal government. The other party was very happy, but he didn't expect that this remote area had now become a hot commodity. Those in Renhe Township were still envious of Liangzhou Township, where such a big project was settled and a large area of land was expropriated. Unexpectedly, in the blink of an eye, a bigger project would be settled and a larger piece of land would be expropriated. How could they not be happy? The two parties quickly confirmed the Sky City project, and Lu Ligan also obtained the approval from the Hangzhou City Development and Reform Commission as quickly as possible, so that the matter can continue to be promoted. The Yuhang municipal government agreed to transfer 15 square kilometers of land and 3 square kilometers of forest to Zhejiang Jinxiu Dadi Real Estate Co., Limited for the construction of the satellite town of Hangzhou City, City in the Sky. The transfer price of the land is 18,1 acres. The Yuhang municipal government will be responsible for the demolition, ground structures, and young crops compensation. Lu Ligan Company will bear the compensation of 3,000 yuan per mu. For the forest part, the compensation will be 5,000 yuan per mu. Price transfer. What makes the Yuhang municipal government happy is that the land transfer price this time is not only higher than that in Liangzhou, but the land transfer fee and compensation total more than 500 million. Lu Ligan Company paid it all in one go, which shows that the company's he is richer than the other party. Most of the land payment is still owed. It looks like he is fishing. It is really much better. Lu Ligan could still come up with more than 500 million if his own company squeezed the company, but he wanted to keep this money for Hangcheng Center. For the 500 million yuan to purchase Sky City, Lu Ligan asked Miss Cai from Fubon Financial Holdings for help. Miss Cai readily agreed to his request. Through Mr. Chiao's Shenzhen Angzhen Trust, Miss Cai and the others asked Lu Lipol issued a directional entrusted loan totaling RMB 500 million for a period of 3 years. The loan interest rate was 10% lower than the People's Bank of China's benchmark interest rate. Lu Ligan took out 20% of Kunpeng Construction's shares as collateral for the loan. The benefits of the Mies Hai project have now been seen. For Miss Cai and the others, having this Kunpeng Construction 100% 20 of the shares are pledged, and the risk is controllable. After receiving the task of planning and designing the city in the sky, Jason rushed over from Hong Kong. Jacques put on his sleeping bag and set off. Lu Ligan knew that he was going to find the soul of the land again. Just over a week after Lu Ligan signed the Sky City Agreement, the Hangzhou City government became the first city in the country to start a pilot project for land bidding, auction, and listing. Although it was only a pilot project, all real estate developers, everyone knows what this means. Land in Hangzhou has suddenly become scarce. For those lands that have not yet been included in the pilot scope, everyone has acted quickly. As Tan Shahen said, overtly or covertly, everyone wants to catch the last train of the transfer by any means. Lu Ligan held the land transfer agreement for City in the Sky, smiled at Tan Shahen, and said, "I'm so lucky to have Tan Shahen in this world, and then there will be a bidding, auction, and auction right away." Tan Shahen didn't know what Lu Ligan was talking about, but she knew that their step was timely. Tan Shahen also left. November 12 has come as expected. On this day, from Zhang Chen's personal perspective, not only He Hongmei is back, but Meng Ping and Qian Fang are also here. It's really a gathering of distinguished guests. It's fun. On the public side, Zhejiang Academy of Fine Arts came forward and invited Zhao Laoqi, Chu Taichun and Wu Guanzhong to attend the Art in the Flames, National Art College and their artworks exhibition and the opening ceremony of the Riverside Oil Painting Gallery. We also invited almost all the teachers and students of the old National Art College who are still alive, and they all came happily. With so many guests coming, not only do they have to arrange for food and accommodation in Hangzhou, but they also have to bear part of the travel expenses. Zhejiang and the United States do not have such a huge amount of funds, most of which are provided by Zhang Chen and his Riverside Oil Painting Gallery Bear. When Zhang Chen looked at the old gentlemen hugging each other and bursting into tears, he felt that his money was well spent. He felt that that era and that group of people should not be submerged in history. If the ruins of the Gentian power plant are worth preserving, then they are even more worthy of being cherished. Zhang Chen and his Riverside Oil Painting Gallery specially invited contemporary oil painters whose works were collected by their oil painting gallery to attend their opening ceremony. Although the museum opened this time, because it was a special exhibition, a large number of documents were also displayed alongside the works, so the entire first and second floors of the museum were used to display the more than 300 works of old artists, and relevant literature. The works of contemporary oil painters are still locked in the vaults of their oil painting museums and will not be displayed when the museum opens this time. Yao Fen and Zhao Xian informed the contemporary oil painters of this situation in advance. Although they all knew that they would not be able to see their works on display here this time, they also understood the content of the exhibition. Come and join the event. They also want to see the works of those seniors who are of great significance to them, displayed in such a concentrated manner at one time, and at the same time, they also hope to meet these seniors themselves. With so many important guests coming together, it was truly a gathering of talented people. This exhibition not only became a major event in Hangzhou's cultural circle, but also became a major event in the National Art Circle at the end of the year. All major media have reported on it, and the professional media has carried out detailed special reports on Zhang Chen's Riverside Oil Painting Gallery because of the more than 300 works of old artists and because of the new arrivals. The works of young artists have become one of the most important art museums in the country. As time goes by, its importance becomes more and more apparent. Almost as long as you are shooting a documentary related to Chinese modern and contemporary art, or publishing similar publications, you have to go to them to select materials, ask for assistance and provide information. Zhang Chen's talent funding program has also achieved great success. Many of the recipients were unknown at the time, but later became famous and became the first-line oil painters in the country and the most sought-after painters in the market. Many of Zhang Chen's works, especially the important early works, are in Zhang Chen's oil painting gallery. These are all things for later. Before the opening of the museum, Zhang Chen appointed Yao Fen as the director of the Riverside Oil Painting Museum and Zhao Xian as the deputy director. Xiao Zhao knew why he made the appointment in such a hurry and left. During and after the opening ceremony, Zhang Chen entrusted all the reception work and the task of accepting media interviews to the Zhejiang Art Museum of Fine Arts, or Yao Fen and Zhao Xian, and he finally successfully avoided it. When the ribbon was being cut during the opening ceremony, he stood below and watched Yao Fen cutting the ribbon with the guests above. He applauded along with everyone. After the opening ceremony, Zhang Chen, Meng Ping, He Hongmei and the others, a large group of good friends, went back to their offices upstairs in the dynamic zone. Meng Ping and Qian Fang stood in front of the window of Zhang Chen's office, looking at the splendid Jiangnan opposite. There were already many companies settled in buildings A and B, and there were many floor-to-ceiling glass windows on each floor. The lights were on, projecting well-dressed men and women on the glass. The last of the 3 office buildings, Tower C, had also been topped out. They followed Lu Ligan through the small door and walked to the garden. Through the railing, they looked at Lu Ligan's Hangzhou Center and the locations of the 3 office buildings. When they returned to the office, they didn't even have time to sit down, and they couldn't wait to sit down. Lu Ligan introduced his City in the Sky project. Meng Ping was greatly stimulated and shouted, "No, no, no, Pole, I have been thrown off by you. I am not convinced. I have to find a way to catch up." Qian Fang, who was on the sidelines, did not feel unconvinced. Instead, she was shocked when she heard Tan Shahan say that Hangzhou had begun a pilot program of land bidding, auction, and listing. After she understood the content and process of the pilot, she immediately felt a crisis. Qian Fang, Su Jiaking, Ye Yulan, and Cao Ziahe said that if Lao Meng wants to go crazy, let him go crazy. We don't care about him, and we can't control him. When we go back, we have to take out all our money and quickly collect the land and invite auctions and listings here. The stock wind will definitely blow very fast. Nanjing may launch it at any time. If it can't catch up, it will be too late. The other 3 people all said yes. A security guard knocked on the door, and He Hungmei walked over and opened the door. The security guard told He Hungmei, "Miss He, there are 2 people. They said they were here to see Mr. Zhang." He Hungmei looked at the 2 people behind the security guard. They seemed familiar, but she couldn't remember who they were. He Hungmei turned around and shouted, "Master, someone is looking for them." The people in the room turned their heads, the woman screamed almost at the same time, and the man laughed and shouted almost at the same time. Zhang Chen shouted, Didn't you say you don't have time?" Chen Qiang and Lin Yiyan stood at the door. Chen Qiang smiled and said, "Why, only you can give surprises to others, but we can't give you surprises. Thank you for the tip that I didn't even know anyone asked. Thank you book friend 20180720125920875 for your monthly ticket. Thanks for all the reading and votes. Have a good evening everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 939. Meng Ping and Qian Fang were originally going back to Nanjing today, but because Chen Qiang and Lin Yiyan were here, they naturally stopped going back. He Hungmei was also going back to Beijing, but because of everyone's efforts, she also stayed. Lin Yiyan and He Hungmei said, "You didn't recognize us when you saw us in front of us." "No, we must make your impression deeper." He Hungmei smiled sheepishly and said, "I saw him once when the store opened last time. It's been several years." After dinner, Zhang Chen asked everyone if they wanted to visit his oil painting gallery at this time. He knew that there were too many people during the day and almost no one looked at it. Chen Qiang and Lin Yiyan, on the surface, were here to attend the opening ceremony and had not even been to the museum yet. Chen Qiang said, "Yes, I don't understand oil painting, but I want this feeling, like an art museum opening the door specially for you, and the boss will explain it to you personally." "We are accompanied by the boss lady," Lin Yiyan said, holding Xiao Zhao's hand. Lu Ligan asked, "Is it like your casino opening the door for one person in particular?" "That is the treatment of a gambling king." Chen Qiang laughed and said, "Don't be misled by those bad Hong Kong dramas. Our casino has never been closed for a minute since the day it opened. It is always open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Where can we find it? What's open for one in particular, barring an earthquake, fire, etc., there's no chance you'll see the casino close." Lu Ligan looked at Chen Qiang and Lin Yiyan and laughed. He said, "Qiang, you are not wearing the right outfit this time. What's wrong with the outfit? Chen Qiang and Lin Yiyan were surprised. You should have a big back and overalls, and Lin Yiyan should be wearing a cheongsam. Lu Ligan said, this is in line with your status. When I went to Beijing and told Sun Ho that he met you, he thought, it should be like this. Chen Qiang and Lin Yiyan laughed. Chen Qiang asked, by the way, didn't the monkey come this time? I'm on a business trip to the United States, Zhang Chen said. Before going to the Riverside Oil Painting Gallery, Lao Tan called 2 water buses. Zhang Chen said, let's set sail. Do you want to enjoy the feeling of having 2 boats specially opened for you and the boss accompanying you on the boat? Chen Qiang laughed. A group of people got on the boat. Naturally, everyone was divided into 2 groups. The men were in the front boat and the women were in the back boat. As the boat passed through the Meisi River, Lao Tan gave way to the driver of the boat and deliberately folded the top of the boat. Their heads were bathed in the starlight, moonlight, and drunken lights on the shore, and the bottom of the boat was stained by the already cool wind. On the bridge on the shore, strangers would greet them from time to time. It can be seen that when people enter this environment, they naturally become peaceful and friendly because they feel comfortable. Meng Ping sighed and said, Gang Zi, you, a black-hearted capitalist, have really done a great job in this matter. If I, Meng Ping, can make the Qinhua River become like this one day, I will die without regrets. Zhang Chen smiled and said, why, Meng Ping, you don't pursue your dream of the tallest building. Meng Ping smiled and said, isn't the tallest building also a name? If you make people by the river talk about your good deeds, that is also fame. Profit can satisfy a person's sensory needs, and fame can satisfy a person's psychological needs. I am just hungry in my heart. What about fame and fortune? Chen Qiang asked. That would be overwhelming. How can there be such a good thing in the world? Meng Ping said, so when you see so many bosses doing charity, do you think they are born with a good heart? If you are born with a good heart, you cannot make a big fortune. Yes, they are just using it to buy their name. When satisfying their own sensory needs, they must also satisfy their own psychological needs. You are so absolute, Lao Meng, I am born with a good heart, Lu Ligan shouted. Okay, you are a weirdo. If you were the emperor, you would be the emperor for eternity, okay, Meng Ping said with a smile. Lu Bang, the emperor of the Han dynasty, looked at the men and women on both sides of the strait and said to them, in Kaohsiung, there is a river called the Love River. I think this is the real Love River. Zhang Chen was right, the temperament here matched well with the pole, and it was right to make whatever it was. The people on the boat laughed, and Lu Ligan cursed, Zhang Chen, are you mistaken? You were the first to provide convenience to hungry men and women. It was your garden and the metasequoia forest behind it? Zhang Chen thought, yes, and couldn't help but laugh. Chen Qiang looked at the construction sites on both sides of the river and asked Lu Ligan, Pangzi, do all the houses on both sides of the river belong to you? Lu Ligan said yes, Qiang, if you spit on both sides of the river, you will spit on my land. Chen Qiang smiled and said, if I spit out a few more times, the boss won't find me, right? Meng Ping cursed, do you see, this is a perfect combination. Look at the beautiful landscapes on both sides of the river. This is the innate good heart of the pole, but what is behind the good heart is the naked pursuit of profit. When Meng Ping said this, everyone thought it was true. Lao Tan said it fairly, but if it can objectively benefit the general public, it is still good. This is probably why the government supports this project. This is much better than naked plunder. Only gangsters and gangsters engage in naked plunder, which is plundering. Businessmen use their brains to plunder, Meng Ping said. Do you know who built Nanjing Road in Shanghai? It should be Hartong, Zhang Chen said. Yes, it's Hartong, Meng Ping said. When Nanjing Road was first built, it was a very remote road with few people. What did Hartong think of? He paved the entire road with sandalwood. Think about it, isn't this strange? Everyone ran there, and the popularity of this road increased. This is a clever trick. It's what Lao Tan said, objectively benefiting the citizens, right? Without a business wizard like Hartung, how could there be Nanjing Road? Without Nanjing Road, how much inferior Shanghai would be? So I think there is no shame in taking advantage of others and taking advantage of others. That's what's annoying. In this way, we are also taking advantage of others. Chen Qiang said, we are taking advantage of people's greedy mentality to make gains. Lu Ligan felt that what Chen Qiang said was wrong. He believed that people who gamble are not necessarily greedy. For example, he and Meng Ping are not greedy at least, but why? They will be attracted to that thing soon. There should be something more important than greed. Something more complex. But this topic is difficult for Lu Ligan to discuss. The two boats circled back to the dock of Gentian power plant, and everyone got ashore. Yao Fen and Zhao Xian had already turned on the lights of the riverside oil painting gallery. Yao Fen was waiting for them at the door. When they arrived, Zhang Chen saw inside there are still a few people visiting. Yao Fen quickly explained to Zhang Chen. She said that the door was open and people walking nearby wanted to come in and take a look, so she let them in. Zhang Chen nodded and said yes. When everyone went in, Yao Fen led them all the way and explained that in some places, especially the interpretation of a certain work itself, she felt that she was not thorough enough, so she looked at Zhang Chen for help, and Zhang Chen took it. Explaining to them. Lao Tan exclaimed, looking at the exhibition this way, there is still something to gain. It turns out that in these paintings, the tables are not evenly placed, and the houses are all crooked. It turns out that their unevenness and crookedness all make sense. Yao Fen smiled and said, I couldn't explain some of the painting principles clearly, but Mr. Zhang made it clear once he explained it. After looking at the upstairs and downstairs, I went to see Zhang Chen's vault. Lao Tan said, it seems that the vault is still too small. According to the rate at which your collection is increasing, it will not be enough by next year. Zhang Chen smiled and said that the number of editions next year will not be so large. Now that the museum has just opened, it is inevitable to pursue the quantity of collections. By next year, what will be pursued is quality. That's right, Zhang Chen, you have to raise the threshold of your oil painting gallery. Chen Qiang said, let everyone feel that it is an honor to be collected by your oil painting gallery. It is not you who buy their works. Many times, it is them. I want to send you works, but you don't want them. Zhang Chen nodded, feeling that what Chen Qiang said made sense. He Hongmei also said, just like those actors, you see them paying appearance fees for any event they attend. But have you ever heard that there are appearance fees for attending the Cannes Film Festival and Oscar Awards? I'm afraid it's the opposite. Let them. If you pay to participate, they will fight for it, but even if you pay, they may not let you participate. The next day, Chen Qiang and Lin Yiyan visited Zhang Chen's dynamic zone and the specialty store on Yan'an Road. When they came to see the specialty store, it was different from when it opened. The business premises had doubled, and they went to Sanbeo factory again. Looking inside, it was very different from what they saw the last time they came here. Chen Qiang and Lin Yiyan were very happy for Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao. Chen Qiang and Zhang Chen said that when they were in Macau, they heard what the Pole told you about the situation here, and they wanted to come and have a look. After visiting, it was great to see that you were doing better than we imagined. After lunch, they went for a run around several of Lu Ligan's projects, and the whole afternoon passed. In the evening, He Hongmei flew back to Beijing. Chen Qiang and Lin Yiyan were also pressed for time. A large group of them simply went to Nanjing overnight. Zhang Chen, Xiao Zhao, and Lu Ligan also accompanied them. In Nanjing, everyone saw the projects of Meng Ping and Qian Fang. In the evening, Chen Qiang and Lin Yiyan were about to fly to Zhuhai and transit back to Macau from Zhuhai. They said that time was really tight. Everyone else understood it very well. Lu Ligan asked Chen Qiang, "Are these 3 days the best time to go to your casino to cheat? The boss and the gold dealer are not here?" Chen Qiang smiled and said, "Do you want to go?" Lu Ligan and Meng Ping laughed, both a little embarrassed. Chen Qiang quietly said to Lu Ligan, "You are gone. I have been paying close attention to the entry and exit records. Fortunately, I did not find you and Lao Meng." After it passed, Lu Ligan said, "It turned out that there were several deer jostling in his heart, but now these deer are gone." Chen Qiang laughed and said, "It would be fine if there was no more." Meng Ping asked with a smile, "Qiang, if the people who got rich first in mainland China are like us, will you close your doors?" "I'm not afraid if it's closed," Chen Qiang said with a smile. "Can't I still work at your place if it's closed?" Thank you to Dal Tin Soldier and RIRI Shushu for the reward. Thank you Big Fat 1979, Book Friends 201806210933222406, Eavesdropping on Yin and Yang, Book Friends 201901042017583118, Purple Ladies, and Sample Thieves for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 940. The year is almost coming to the end of the year. Zhang Chen and the others still have one big thing to do, which is the marriage of the second-rate goods. Zhang Chen, Lao Tan, and Xiao Zhao have already come to propose marriage to the second-rate goods in accordance with their local rules. Their marriage certificate has been obtained, and there is one last step to follow, which is to bring the woman to Hangzhou after having a drink at her home. Talking about picking up is actually just a formality. In fact, the woman has been working in Hangzhou, but the wine must be served. The date is November 28th. The woman's family has prepared everything, but they just need the newlyweds and Zhang Chen and others to go back. Lu Ligan scolded, "You are a newbie, you are already old. Are you so honest as a second-rate guy?" The second-rate guy chuckled. Early in the morning on the 27th, Zhang Chen, Xiao Zhao, Lao Tan, and Lu Ligan drove Lu Ligan's Huda-Ben and Xiao Zhao's BMW, taking the slut and his girlfriend, I should say. She is my wife. When I went to their hometown, Lu Bang, the great ancestor of the Han dynasty, also asked to go with me. Zhang Chen looked at Lu Ligan and asked, "Aren't you afraid of the chassis of your car being scratched when running a long distance?" Lu Ligan said that he was not afraid. He would just repair the chassis if it was scratched. Didn't these idiots want to show off? Why did they miss my showgirl? Ben, hey, no, Zhang Chen, why do you care about me? You don't care. Xiao Zhao's BMW. Zhang Chen smiled and said, "Xiao Zhao is the second-rate aunt, so it's natural for him to fall apart." What are you? Uncle, Xiao Zhao is an aunt, so why am I not an uncle? A second-rate guy, don't you think so? The second-rate guy smiled and said, "You're forced to do whatever you say." Lu Ligan scolded, "Have you seen that this idiot will do anything to get a wife? Now let him call me grandpa, and he will do it." They set off from Hangzhou in 2 cars, Meng Ping and Li Yang, from Nanjing. Lao Tan and Meng Ping said that they didn't have to work so hard. Meng Ping shouted, "How can that be done? Let the woman see the group of relatives and friends of our idiot, also has strong soldiers and horses." Lao Tan smiled and said, "Okay, thank you, I'm interested." Fortunately, the road heading north was all plains. The road was much easier to walk than heading southwest, and the distance was not that far. They only drove for more than 13 hours and arrived at Erhuo's hometown county that night. Worried that so many people would have no place to stay at the woman's house, they decided to stay in the county town that night and go to the woman's house early the next morning. Zhang Chen and the others arrived more than an hour later, and Meng Ping and Li Yang also arrived. The woman's drink was at noon. When Zhang Chen and the others arrived in the county town, they caused a sensation. No one there had ever seen 3 such high-end cars. When they arrived at the bride's village, the whole village was even more shocked. They basically picked up the bride with tractors, and those who had cars were amazing. Unexpectedly, 3 cars came. The wedding banquet was lively and more than 30 tables were set up. Almost all the open spaces in the village were set up with wine tables. There are 8 tables placed in the village's sunbathing area. The woman's close relatives and prominent figures in the village are all here. The woman's family members were very polite to the villagers, and they also wanted to tease and play. One by one, they came to serve Zhang Chen and their table wine. At the beginning, Zhang Chen, Lu Ligan, and Meng Ping were the ones dealing with it. People felt that they were sure of victory. Although these 3 people had good drinking capacity, they could not outnumber them. But when Lao Tan and Han Jiaozulu Bang stood up, they were all frightened. The 2 took turns to fight. As long as anyone came to call for battle, they would not let them go until they were drunk. After a few people fell, no one dared to call for battle. The wedding banquet lasted from 11 o'clock to around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was finally over. Zhang Chen and the others rushed back with the 2 newcomers. When they arrived at the county town, they thought about it and decided not to live here anymore. Their stomachs were still full anyway, so they might as well continue on their way. In the early morning, Meng Ping and the others can return to Nanjing, and Zhang Chen and the others can also go to Hangzhou. The hotels in the county are not as comfortable as at home, and they can't compare with the car. Back in Hangzhou, the 2 of them had no relatives in Hangzhou, so they could keep it simple. Lao Tan set up a private room with 2 tables in Tianxiang building, and invited good friends from Hangzhou and several of the woman's family. Colleagues, let's come over and have some fun. The marriage of this idiot is over. Seeing the pair of idiots and their happy faces, Lao Tan felt a stone in his heart fell to the ground. Today, he and his dead old comrades can finally have an explanation. The year 1996 is about to come to an end. In this year, generally speaking, what you can see in newspapers every day is that China's economy has successfully achieved a soft landing to the people's personal experience, inflation the momentum has been curbed and prices have begun to stabilize. For Zhang Chen, Lu Ligan, and even Wei Wenfang and Wu Ziyawai, their companies have made a big leap this year, and their business has also expanded significantly. This is a good year for the clothing industry. It's a great year for the express delivery industry, and of course it's also a great year for the real estate industry. Lu Ligan always told Zhang Chen and Wei Wenfang that we who build houses are just following your asses. If your life is better, we will be better off. If you are not, who the hell will have money? Buy a house, so I wish you a lot of money and a quick fortune. Chu Tianlin is also very happy now, because their printing company in Shenzhen has undergone a shareholding restructuring. Zili Street, Nanshan District, Shenzhen City, which originally accounted for 65% of their company's shares, withdrew from their printing company. Chu Tianlin and her husband have become the company's major shareholders. Now, Chu Tianlin is the boss of the company, not just the manager of the Hangzhou branch. Her husband is the chairman and general manager in Shenzhen, and she continued to stay in Hangzhou because the business in Zhejiang is getting bigger and bigger, which has a decisive impact on their company. Chu Tianlin's company has already moved to splendid Jiangnan, and they have moved in with her, including Shaoxing Dehua Chemical Fiber Co., Limited, which is Lao Ni's company. Zhang Chen and Lu Ligan came to the house together to congratulate them on their move. Lao Ni pointed to the dynamic zone across the canal and asked Zhang Chen, "Xiao Zhang, is your office upstairs?" Zhang Chen said, "Yes, I can see Mr. Ni's office even from my office." "Then if I stand in my office, can I also see your office?" Lao Ni asked, and both Zhang Chen and Lu Ligan laughed. Lao Ni said to them, "I will be here most of the time in the future, and we can get together often." As an old man from the countryside, I really need to get in touch with you young people. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't be able to make the trip. Mr. Ni, you are too polite. I heard from Sister Tianlin that your company is now one of the best in Kikiao. We should learn from you, Zhang Chen said. Mr. Ni quickly waved his hand and said, it's empty shelf. In our industry now, the competition is too fierce. The stalls are very big and the scene looks very nice, but in fact, we don't make much money in a year. You also know that in the textile market, the difference in fabrics is only 50 cents per dollar, which is scary to death now. Everyone's costs are transparent, so there's no way to make any money. We can't compete with you in the clothing industry. You won't fight on price like this, right? Xiao Lu and the others won't fight on price like we do when selling houses. Now, when we compare with others, we only rely on scale, so there is no benefit. I'm dissatisfied with you saying that I'm thinking about diversification every day, but I'm also afraid that if it weren't for what you said last time in Hainan, Xiaojiang, I would have been in trouble. If you have anything good to do, be sure to call me. Aren't we all neighbors now? Xiao Lu and I have become your customer. Zhang Chen and Lu Ligan, please quickly say, we discuss it frequently, Mr. Ni, you are too polite. Mr. Ni looked at Lu Ligan and said, Xiao Lu, I mean it sincerely. If you don't come today, I will go to your place to visit. I really have something to ask you. Mr. Ni is too polite. If anything happens, just ask, Lu Ligan said. It's like this. People like us always have some connections in the local area. We have some friends. There is a piece of land next to the Xianheng Hotel in Shaoxing City. A friend asked me to get it. What kind of real estate is being developed? I have never done anything like this, so how do I know? Besides, this is in Shaoxing, not Hangzhou. In Hangzhou, people like you build houses and people buy them. Whoever buys a house in Shaoxing has his own house. Lu Ligan shook his head and said, Mr. Ni, you are wrong about this. There are people buying this house everywhere, just like in Shaoxing. Those who have their own houses are Shaoxing locals, people in the urban area, and those outside. As for those in the nearby countryside, including you guys, Mr. Ni, you have a big business and can afford to buy a house in Hangzhou. If your business is small, you have some money, you don't want to stay in the countryside, your family wants to live in the city, and your children want to go to school in the city, why don't you want to buy a house in Shaoxing? There are so many people doing business in Shaoxing. They also want to buy a house. Mr. Ni nodded and asked, what do you think, if this house is built, will people still buy it? Someone will definitely buy it. There are not many real estate projects under construction in Shaoxing right now, right? The competition is not as fierce as in Hangzhou. This is an opportunity for you, Lu Ligan said. How big is the land? 38 acres. How much does it cost per acre? Lu Ligan asked. 21,000. Then you buy it. Don't build high in Shaoxing. Build 6 floors and you can build 30,000 square meters. Once your house is built, the cost per square meter is less than 700 yuan. If you sell it for 900 yuan per square meter, we all made money, Lu Ligan said. Mr. Ni was still a little hesitant. He said, 900 yuan per square meter. Is there anyone in Shaoxing who wants it? If no one wants you, just rent it out. There are 466 or 70 houses, and one rents for 500 yuan. You also have a storefront room below. You can earn more than 200,000 yuan a month in rent, 300 yuan a year won. If you control the entire investment, it's only 20 million, 15% profit. You can't make it by opening a factory, right? You can rent and sell this house like this, isn't it okay? Mr. Ni laughed, nodded, and praised, yes, you can still do this, it is much more cost-effective than my weaving. Xiao Lu, How come you have such a brain? How can you calculate accounts so quickly, without even using a calculator? Luligan also smiled and said, as for real estate, it's all simple addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. There's no need for a calculator. Okay, then I'll listen to you and go get it. Mr. Ni made up his mind. Thank you for the tip from the third one from top to bottom, 131, on the shore. Thank you Niujiao, Firewood Collectors, and Book Friends 201901042017583118 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Good evening everyone. Something went wrong today and I'm feeling dizzy. I'll just give you 2 updates. Sorry.